what if you invested in yourself?
What do you mean? As if you're a company? Like?
Yeah, as if you're a company or a business, you know, how all the due diligence that they put into it, a company or a business would put into investing in itself. What would happen if we did that?
As an individual, as a person.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be pretty revolutionary. So listen to this week's episode of
Get Real with the English Sisters.
Well, we'll be chatting about
the idea that what if you were a company? What would you actually do to understand the company's values, to understand the core? I think, the actual core of that company, and to be able to understand all the people that rotate around that company and how to make them assets.
I know. I think it'd be pretty amazing, because I think most of us will do that at work, but we don't do it for ourselves.
No, I think if we did do that, as if we were a business, I think if we saw ourselves like... almost like as if we had whatever business it is.
I think we'd take more pride in ourselves, and we'd put more work into it.
Definitely,
because I think we don't put enough work into ourselves. We take ourselves for granted, and we think what's going on at the moment's okay. We're not continuing. Most people aren't. I mean, if you're doing that, brilliant.
You're brilliant.
I mean, most people don't continuously reevaluate and have like meetings, weekly meetings. How have I been? What have I been doing? How has my mental health been?
Wow.
What have I invested in? Have I invested in my friendships, my recreation, my creativity? What have I been doing? They don't check these things off the list.
No,
they just
not at all. It's just drudge on and on, isn't it?
Just trying to cope with what you've got, really, for most of us.
Yeah, and then just trying to sedate ourselves with whatever kind of sedation we like alcohol, or just binging on food, Netflix, whatever it is.
Like trying to make ourselves feel good that way instead of
just like
invested.
Instant. Yeah, instead of actually thinking, okay, so if like you were a business, what would you want that business to appear to, not only to others, but what would you really want it to be like? So I know if I was a business, I would want to be strong. Yeah, I would want to be successful. I would want to be a kind business, somebody that appreciates, the people that I have around me, and I think I'd want to help them grow, because that's who I am. Yeah, I'd want to be able to see and understand the people that work around me or with me, if we're pretending we're a business. And I would love that business to be all about, I think, looking into myself and to the others, and seeing things that aren't working, like how do you say?
Inadequacies.
Yeah, that's a tongue twister. Yeah, seeing them and just thinking, okay, so they're not wrong. They're
not
just
attaching blame to them.
Yes,
you mean,
it's just something that that person isn't particularly strong at, or I'm not particularly strong at, doing this or over. So it's all about, I would want my company to be all about that, saying, okay, that's okay, you're not strong at this, let's discuss this and let's try and figure out.
Well, I think you've hit it on the nail there. I think if we do look at ourselves like that, it takes away the maybe the shame and the guilt
of not being enough,
the worry of not being enough, exactly. And of just trying to improve, which it's like there's no
shame,
there's no attachment to that. Now we have all this backlog of stuff that maybe from our past and everything, but if we were a company, we were just having a meeting, hey, what can we improve on this week? What's lacking here? How do we improve
a weakness
this
here, as if we want to call it a weakness? So okay,
how do we improve on this? What do we need to invest? How much money do we have to put into that? Exactly.
How much time do we need to invest in this? What can we discuss? How can we help each other? And how can you help yourself as a business to grow, to overcome certain fears, to shine and to thrive as a business?
Yeah, you might need more education. You might need to, do something. But there's nothing. When we just see ourselves as people,
as individuals,
we just think, oh, everything seems so overwhelming because we're actually in it. We're not actually thinking about the bigger picture, I don't think. We're actually, we've got everything, all the backstory. We've got everything.
Yeah, we've got the backstory. Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah.
We're not detached from it. Whereas if we detach from it, we think we might be able to say, oh, well, this business needs to focus more on quality time for their employees.
Yes, and you are part of that business, so you need to spend more quality time.
Focus on that. We need to focus more on maybe earning more money.
Yes.
And how can we do that? So
let's be more productive.
Yes, let's be more productive. So there's no blame attached to it, or guilt, or shame, or any of this stuff that usually comes along with when we're just thinking about ourselves as individuals.
Yeah, and because when we all know we're not, we come from families, and then we go on, and often we have groups of friends or partners in life. So we know we're not really individuals, but I don't think that we actually think ourselves like what I was thinking of, like a .com or whatever, like a business, like having, imagine you had a .com, like your own website out, and it's all about you, just you, and how you could, it sounds quite scary actually, because it's just about you, but it's like really about you. So you real, like not what you
have to look at yourself properly from within.
It's not like scary. When you do a job interview, and you just write stuff. Oh yeah, but really, really what you do, how you deal with stress and everything else. So yeah, I think seeing yourself like that could be like an extra tool to have in your, your
definitely
box.
Because it would mean that you weren't just I think you wouldn't be just focusing on yourself as an individual, which is what a lot of us do, and we tend to feel sorry for ourselves or overwhelmed, or as if we can't cope or anxious. But if we saw the bigger picture and we imagine, like we visualize that we were a business, how can I help that business? You're already taking yourself away from you.
There's more detachment.
How can I help that business? What would I be able to do to improve that? Or maybe, go for coffee with someone, go and have a chat with someone, go and discuss this with somebody. Communicate more effectively with my partner.
Exactly, because
this
you're
is all lacking. We want this, we want this business or company to be more efficient. How
Normally
can we
do. That's what
efficiency.
Yeah, how can we create? Yeah, that's it. And business nowadays are more and more about emotions as well.
Yes.
So it's not just the financial side, because I think any healthy, thriving business knows that its employees and the CEO and the founders have to be in the right mental state. Otherwise, a business is not. It might do well financially for a bit, but afterwards, it's the people working in it are all going to start getting ill and not productive. So
exactly
nowadays there is even more attention on that. So we know that's important. So imagine that you're the founder of your own business.
Just check in with yourself. How am I doing?
Yeah, that's it. Check in with yourself and more detached, like what you were saying before, because it is easy to think that because your past was like a certain way, that your future is already
tainted.
Yeah, tainted and is not. But it's not rosy as you'd like it to be.
It doesn't have to be like that.
But it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You can really change.
Yeah, and if you are a business as well, you can declare bankruptcy and start again. So, there's always a way out of everything.
Yeah, you're right about that. Saying,
I'm going to close that chapter. I'm going to start again. And yes, I made mistakes and I've done things that, maybe didn't make that business successful. How can I make it successful now?
Exactly.
If I start a new business.
Yes, exactly.
So
you see it more like a challenge, I think, because in business there are failures, but there's so many challenges that you have to, you have to live,
and you learn from your failures in business, don't you? They always say the most successful businesses have always had failures.
And I think you tend to want to invest in more in the business as well when you know it's like a business.
You spend more time.
A lot of the time when it's just for yourself, you might think, oh no, I
can do without that.
Yes, but if it's your business, you might think, no, if I'm thinking of myself as a business, can I really do without that?
Yeah.
Or what is really essential for me to get doing today to improve myself? It's a bit like it's all a bit of financial talking and business talking, but I think it kind of helps detach you from you slightly, from your past.
Definitely. Definitely so, because it just puts you in a different category. You're not just thinking about yourself, you're thinking about the bigger picture once again, and
knowing that if your business
and also how you affect the other people in your life as well. If you were a business, would you really treat them the way you're treating them now?
Exactly.
Or would you invest more time and dedication
would
to
you be kinder to them the way you actually verbally speak to them, discuss things?
I was listening to a podcast today where they were saying that actually it was the work of Byron Katie, and there was two partners in business, two husbands, and they were actually saying that he treats his husband, who's also his business partner, he says, my husband always wants to be right when we're discussing business affairs. And when I propose something, he always wants to be right, and he's always offering feedback. And so with the work of Byron Katie, if you're aware of it, she says, turn it around. And then he realizes that he always wants to be right, and he's not listening to the feedback that his partner, also his husband, is giving him. So there is where you've got people working together, but they're also a company. And it was interesting to notice how, because they were a couple, he wasn't really respecting the other person's opinion, which was his husband's opinion. Whereas if he had been his business partner,
it might have been more respectful.
She pointed it out. She said, if it was your business partner, were you listening to your business partner? And he said, no, I wasn't listening.
I was listening to my husband.
Yeah.
And letting that side of the relationship go on to what that's why they say it's really hard to work with your family, with your husband, with your wife, whatever. They actually say that.
But why is it hard? It's because there's a lack of respect often. So if you treated yourself as if you were a business, you would have more respect for yourself and for others.
Well done. Exactly. Yes, that was the whole point of the thing. Absolutely. Yeah, you would treat yourself with more respect, I think.
And you'd be more
valuable as
a
business. You are you think, no, I've set up this business. This business has come into the world, and now, without putting too much pressure on yourself, but you want to make it successful because you want to live a successful life, and that can mean anything. Happiness, calm. Why not? Yeah, your past does not equal your future.
No.
So you can change.
And it doesn't define you either. It's one day at a time. Every day is a fresh new start, really.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is there anything else there? You were reading before. I saw you reading about something.
Yeah, I was reading about
I just think that
how people hide their inadequacies to avoid being found out a lot in work environments, and how I was thinking, I've already said that if you are your own business, you as a person, you would have to sort of look at the parts.
But you'd have to hide them, you mean?
No, you wouldn't hide them. No.
It says that people hide them in business.
They do hide them, but now there's new kind of businesses that, hang on a minute, they're called DDO. And the root of DDO businesses is they're always about people's interior lives as well.
All right.
And so they're not just, hang on a minute, because now I've just said that. It actually says, does your company make you a better person? This is in the Harvard Business Review. And it's about personal productivity. And in this kind of, in our research on what we call deliberately developmental organizations, or DDOs for short, we have identified successful organizations that regard this trade-off as a false one. So I don't know if you're understanding what I'm saying. Do you understand it?
So they're saying that you have to invest in your emotional well-being.
Yes.
Because if you don't, you're not going to be successful, basically.
Yeah. What if we all saw work as an essential context for personal growth? This is like these new companies where they see work as not just separate work and your private life, but it's an extension where you would have meetings and say, well, I mean, this is what I was just reading now. It said the companies we call DDOs are, in fact, built around the simple but radical conviction that the organization can prosper only if its culture is designed from the ground up to enable ongoing development for all of its people, all of them.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. That is that the people in the company are constantly growing through doing their work.
So it gives it more meaning as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it says when you work in such a company, in addition to just going to work and you being productive, you're constantly working on yourself as well.
Oh, yes.
So like if you're really shy, for example, you're working on yourself. So it's a bit like what we were saying about being yourself as your own business. You are in a sense
on that area.
You are in a sense a DDO. You are an organisation.
Look at yourself and say, okay, I'm shy or I'm fearful of this, so I work on this and I'll invest in this week.
You're overcoming your own blind spots.
Yes,
all the time, and. You wouldn't have to hide your inadequacies to avoid being found out, or you wouldn't be overly criticised by them. You'd be like what we were saying before.
You'd be encouraged. So
you're encouraged.
You would say encouraged to show your weaknesses so that you can work on them.
That's a part of doing a good job, then you'd get an applause at the end of the meeting. So I mean, imagine that. And these are companies that are starting off now in today's world.
I suppose if you don't get the applause and you can't manage to do something, I suppose you'd be encouraged to where your strengths are, and you'd be redirected towards your strengths, I suppose.
I don't know. Here it says no executive or
leader.
Because
I'm just imagining if I couldn't get something. No, if they said work on this and I just didn't get it, or I just couldn't, my brain couldn't get around it, I'd feel terrible.
Yeah, but you'd say I just can't get around that.
Yeah, and so then I would imagine a company like that would say, okay, then so maybe this isn't for you now, and if you can maybe leave this for now, and let's work on something else that you feel more comfortable with, and you're more suited to.
Yeah, because you're allowed to speak up.
Without feeling that you're inadequate or you can't do that. Because I'm just thinking, say, for something to do with maths, I would find terribly hard. And I wouldn't just be suited to it. I mean,
because in an ordinary organisation, I'm reading this off the Harvard Business Review, it said every person is doing a second job. No one is paying them to perform, covering their weaknesses and inadequacies, managing others' good impression of them, and preserving a position that would feel more precarious if people didn't always see them at their best. In a DDO, this is considered the single biggest waste of resources in organisational life.
Well, yeah, I suppose so, because you're just kind of hiding something, aren't you? You're pretending to be good at something when you're not, so you're not really doing the job properly either, and you're feeling bad as well.
You're feeling bad, so you're going in thinking, oh gosh, I hope I don't get noticed today. I hope no one sees that I haven't done this, and you're carrying those feelings of shame around and guilt, which are going to make you feel stressed.
They will.
And
anxious.
Yeah, and then you go back to trying to comfort yourself, whereas if you worked in a place
if you were your own company, you would encourage yourself to think about your weaknesses and say, okay, where do I need to improve on? What do I need to improve on this?
And it was a potential asset.
Yes, and you can say, okay, I'm doing so and so on this, or maybe I have to spend more time on this. But you'd actually look at yourself like, yes, like an asset. Yeah. How can I do better, kind of thing.
Yeah, like in these companies, they say phrases like, she does not yet have all the necessary capabilities to perform the role at a high level, but we will help her to develop them. And when she does, she will have outgrown this job and we will need to find her another. These are like, imagine that, you're always outgrowing. You say, well, you're really competent in that. Let's go for another. Your brain is always stimulating. It sounds exhausting, actually, now that I've read it. But I can imagine working in a company where they're kind and
kind of lovely. Yeah, because you always think, I'm always on to the next thing. Can't I have a break?
Yeah, I've just learned how to do that now. Just give me a break. You know, I would think, gosh, if I was working really for somebody like that, I just learn how to master that. You know, let me.
I suppose that's what we should all be doing if we were our own company. When we get the real thing, the truth is that when we get comfy enough doing something, we're comfortable with doing the podcast. We should maybe ready to move on to something else. If I'm just thinking about it right now,
yes,
that's what we have to ask ourselves.
Yeah, but
do we want
kind of scary, isn't it?
No, because we are
a company. We're the English Sisters company, so we do have to look at ourselves like that sometimes.
Well, we should even more now that we've done this episode. Well, as always, all our episodes make us reflect on our own life.
Yes, they do.
Those, and how we affect the people that we love around us, and how we affect you. So let us know,
our listeners, absolutely,
what you think about this. Do you think it's your worst nightmare to be considered like a company? Some people hate business and companies, or do you think it's a good metaphor for you to think about this and how you can maybe change certain areas and look at yourself, on a weekly basis, check in with yourself once a week and say, hey, am I feeling a bit down this week? Am I feeling anxious? Do I need to do more of this and more of that? Do I maybe need to spend some time in nature to feel less anxious? I mean, I did that last week. I spent more time in nature because I noticed I was feeling anxious. So I did some gardening.
Yeah, that usually works for me as well.
Yeah, so just check in with yourself and see how you're doing. And, of course, check in with us and come and visit us on YouTube too, where we have the podcast. And say hello and follow us on Apple Podcasts. And please leave a review as well, because it really helps others find this podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening.
Lots of love and smiles from the English Sisters. Bye.